Good day, ladies and gentlemen. It is now the night of June 22nd to 23rd, 2025. This is Leon Weinstein speaking from Los Angeles, California. The United States strike on 3 Iranian nuclear facilities on the night of June 21st to 22nd was carried out according to an extremely complex plan involving more than 125 American aircraft and warships, as well as various methods of disinformation. This was reported by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth at a briefing in the Pentagon. Hegseth noted that preparations for the operation, called Midnight Hammer, Operation Midnight Hammer in English, had been underway for several weeks, so that we would be ready at the moment when the President of the United States gives the order. Interestingly, the series of deceptions, false moves, and messages that America allowed to be intercepted were carried out not so much for Iran, but rather to deceive Russia and China, whose satellites, of course, were working for Iran. The American strikes followed a week after Israel began a series of airstrikes on Iranian territory aimed at weakening the country's nuclear program and military potential. The Israelis cleared the area of enemy air defenses, aircraft, and radars, preparing it for the main strike. By joining the conflict, American military strategists identified the Iranian uranium enrichment facility at Fordow as the main target, since the facility is located hundreds of feet underground. Well, it was approximately 270 to 300 meters underground, in a mountainous area. The United States Air Force used strategic stealth bombers, the B-2s, equipped with 30,000-pound, that's about 15,000 kilograms, penetrating aerial bombs, that is guided bomb unit, 57-9A. And then there are all sorts of terms like penetrator, which
goes in
somewhere inside. They were considered one of the best means for destroying such fortified targets. General Denkeen, a representative of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, stated that the operation became the longest B-2 bomber mission since 2001 and the second longest in the entire history of B-2 flights, and the first combat operation using these very guided bomb unit 57 deep penetration bombs. At a briefing on June 22, Pentagon officials presented the chronology of Operation Midnight Hammer. The operation began just after midnight Eastern Time on June 21, when 7 B-12 bombers took off from Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri and headed east toward Iran. During the flight over the Atlantic Ocean and the Mediterranean Sea, the B-2s were refueled in the air by dozens of tanker aircraft. Shortly before the bombers arrived, American submarines began launching Tomahawk cruise missiles at targets in Iran. United States Air Force fighters were leading the bombers, and the entire strike group entered Iranian airspace at approximately 1800 Eastern Time. United States fighters began suppressing the remaining Iranian air defense systems around the Fordow and Natanz nuclear facilities, left after the Israelis, in advance to ensure the safety of the bombers. At around 1840 Eastern Time, the lead bomber crews reached the Fordow nuclear facility and dropped 2 guided bomb unit, 57 bombs. Over the next 20 minutes, the remaining crews dropped their munitions on the Fordow and Natanz facilities. They hit the same spots where craters had formed, penetrating deeper and deeper into the bedrock. The Tomahawk sea-launched missiles fired from submarines reached the third and final target. These are the nuclear facilities in Isfahan, completing the operation at approximately 1905 Eastern Time. These are the nuclear facilities in Isfahan. After completing the operation at approximately 1905 Eastern Time, the B-2 crews left Iranian airspace at around 1930, also Eastern Time. That's New York, Washington time, and so on. During his speech on the morning of June 22nd, Hegseth noted that the crews were still in the process of returning to the United States. The United States dropped 14 heavy bunker bombs, and submarines launched just over 24 Tomahawks. Describing the operation, General Keane reported that the American submarines involved in the strikes began launching more than 24 Tomahawk cruise missiles at key ground infrastructure targets in Isfahan. The air and naval components of the United States Strike Group were carefully coordinated so that the Tomahawk missile strikes coincided in time with the rest of the operation, which had a very narrow time window. Naturally, we're interested in learning the details of the deception and disinformation, right? The United States operation included several elements of deception to confuse the Iranian defense system, as well as the Chinese and the Russians. While the bomber crews responsible for carrying out the strikes were heading east from Whiteman Air Force Base, Kane reported that some bombers were heading west across the Pacific Ocean. According to him, this was a disinformation operation known only to a very limited number of planners and key leaders in Washington. The top American general added that other deception methods were also used during the operation, but he did not specify which tactics were involved. According to Keane, Operation Midnight Hammer involved, as I already mentioned, more than 125 aircraft and ships. The group included B-2 stealth bombers, numerous squadrons of 4th and 5th generation fighters, as well as dozens and dozens of tanker aircraft. Emphasizing the sudden nature of the operation, General Kane stated that the American military is not aware of any attempts by Iranian forces to open fire on American aircraft during the mission. Iranian fighters did not take off, and it seems that Iranian air defense systems did not detect us at all throughout the entire operation, said Keane. We completely maintained the element of surprise. Exod also noted that the high level of coordination capabilities demonstrated by the United States Armed Forces will be a key factor that will deter Iran from retaliating. We are confident that this will have a serious psychological impact on how they look to the future. And of course, we hope that they will choose the path of peace and negotiations, he said. But I couldn't be more proud of how this agency performed, of the precision, caution, and professionalism of the military personnel who took part in this operation. The damage assessment in Iran is ongoing. Kexit stated that Operation Midnight Hammer was launched with the goal of destroying or seriously weakening Iran's nuclear program. The full extent of the damage to Iran's 3 nuclear facilities cannot yet be independently confirmed, but General Kane shared a preliminary assessment. I understand how important the question about the damage scaling is. A final assessment will take some time, but preliminary data indicates extremely serious destruction and damage at all 3 sites. Immediately after the strikes, in a statement distributed by Iranian state television, the Atomic Energy Organization of Iran said it would continue its work and also called on the international community to condemn the attack. Vice President Vance stated that, in his opinion, the United States airstrikes on the 3 Iranian nuclear sites have set Iran's nuclear program far back. I'm confident, he said, that we have significantly slowed down their development of nuclear weapons, and that was the goal of this attack. That's exactly why we consider the operation a success. Calvin's on the air in the Midipress program. I believe that we really set them back for a very long time. It will take many years before Iran can reach the level of nuclear weapons development that they had just yesterday. It's remarkable that not a word about the operation leaked to the press. There were no leaks, no hysteria from the left before the operation, which means only insiders knew. And no one else was informed. Another interesting thing is President Trump's involvement in disinforming the enemy. I give 2 weeks, he said. I'll decide later. I'm not sure I'll do it. I still need to think about it. The Israelis, the top officials, were aware and ready, just in case, God forbid, something went wrong. But everything went as planned. This is, of course, an operation that will be studied in martial arts schools. No, martial arts is karate, after all, in military schools, though. Now there are two possible scenarios. Iran gives in, pretending to scream and shout and so on, and asks for negotiations. Or they decide to take revenge, and then we will attack everything related to the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps to clear them out of the field, the country, and give an opportunity. By the way, this is what these Islamic Revolutionary Guards are. It's kind of like the KGB, People's Commissariat for Internal Affairs Smerch Spionam, where everything is combined, troops, planes, and connections with terrorists. There, one department handles this, another monitors students, another is counterintelligence, and so on. So it's absolutely like Khabib's People's Commissariat for Internal Affairs. And he will be eliminated in order to give the Iranian army the opportunity to establish a new order in Iran. Already now, without MOL and AYATOL,